All right, hello everybody. So the book that was selected slash graphic novel was Laser Moose and Rabbit Boy. This was no real creative team. It was all done by Doug Savage and published by Penworthy. This is not a graphic novel, not traditional graphic novel or genuine. This is a compilation. It's a series of three stories that end up essentially making our acts and giving our main character Laser Moose his entire arc, which isn't that huge, but a lot of the arc really plays between the relationship between Laser Moose and Rabbit Boy. You'll see, because Rabbit Boy is the voice of reason, and Laser Moose is kind of unhinged and just wants to attack everything. Um, so the length is 135 pages compilation. All right, Act 1 ends on page 36, and that's really the end of one story, which is Invaders, which I'll get into. Act 2 ends on page 84, which is a separate story. Again, we see maybe a little bit of arc, but not a whole lot, but the attitude between Laser Moose and Rabbit Boy, the constant back and forth, that's what's really driving this. Yeah, there's something that they're, a goal that they're working toward, which we'll get to. But okay, that's Act 2. We'll get to that. Act 3, that concludes on page 135. So, whose story is this? This is a story of Laser Moose primarily. He's the one with this gift, this ability to shoot lasers out of his eyeballs. Rabbit Boy is just a silly optimist. The goal here, okay, the main goal is protect the forest. That's all that Laser Moose wants to do, is protect the forest. So he's constantly vigilant, on guard, looking for trouble. The conflict in Act 2 does support that goal, primarily because he's actively, like I said, I will get into that in a moment. But in Act 2, he's actively searching out this mutated bear slash fish that's running rampant, and he's destroying things around the forest. But also, in the process, Laser Moose is hurting his friends. He's hurting creatures of the forest because he's running crazy, not controlling his anger, his temper. So this is where we see, him really at it. I mean, he accidentally cuts off his friend's leg, so we'll get there. Support the goal. All right, so let's go into the story. Let's go into the story so we can talk about the story arc. Because it begins with Laser Moose and Rabbit Boy. And the first act slash story would be Invaders. And this is where Laser Moose is pulling security, so to speak, looking for attackers, and Rabbit Boy is just looking at how beautiful the stars are and enjoying the night sky. And you really see that conflict of character where, Laser Moose is like, no, we need to stay vigilant. We need to focus on, the enemies that are at hand. And Rabbit Boy's just like, no, like, let's do this life. Let's live life. And, let's just enjoy how beautiful all this is. And then the invaders come. There's a spaceship. So what do? They go investigate. Obviously, it wouldn't be a story if they didn't. So, what they find is the spaceship lands, and out pops aliens. Alien pulls out a knife. He catastrophizes, says, "Oh my God, this is terrible. He's gonna kill us." And Rabbit Boy's like, "No, it's cool. Like, I still wanted to go say hi to them and be friends. Like, they're..." And essentially what happens is that Laser Moose goes crazy and cuts the legs of their ship off. My shorts were tickling my leg. So it cuts the legs of the ship off, and come to find out, the aliens pulled out the knife because, go a couple pages forward, they wanted some flowers. That's all they wanted. Just flowers. That's it. And so they're like, obviously Laser Moose and Rabbit Boy, they're like, oh no, so let's go apologize, say sorry. They end up building them new legs and to get them off the ground. And they send the invaders home. Here's the thing: the chapter ends with the invaders eating the flowers and saying, hey, let's come back and eat all the flowers. Like, let's come back to this planet and we're gonna eat every flower, which ultimately would end up killing everyone and everything on this planet if you took away all the flowers. Right? Anyways, so we get into Act 2. All right. And what was does the conflict in Act 2 support the goal? Okay, yeah. So now they've got Aqua Bear, who was mutated from a nuclear plant, got mutated with a salmon. And he, for lack of better terms, turns into a real a-hole. So, cut to Laser Moose and Rabbit Boy doing their same thing. Rabbit Boy's like, oh, let's go explore the forest. Let's go do that. Let's go do this. And Laser Moose hasn't changed a bit. He's like, no, we're going to stay vigilant. We're going to look for anything that's destroying the forest, which Rustle in the bushes, Laser Moose, and this is telling of his character right here. Like, oh, we're just going to shoot randomly into these bushes without knowing what's in there. And what does he do? Cuts off the leg of the deer. All right. So we can see that Laser Moose, he hasn't changed a bit. He's still this immature, like willing to shoot at everything, fire from the hip, loose cannon. But, he does try to make things right, and he feels bad. So out pops the bear fish, mutated Aqua Bear. There we go. And then, of course, Laser Moose cuts down the trees. Now they get into this huge chase with Aqua Bear, and they're like, okay, we've never seen anything like this, so what are we going to do? So they end up eventually, going to find what do bears like most? They like honey. So they're like, okay, let's go get a beehive, and we'll lure him back to the pile of ooze, and then he'll mutate back into what he was in the first place. So they end up going to chase down and get this beehive. And then they find Aqua Bear, and they start luring him into the trap, back into that pile of ooze, which, no problem. Jumps right in, right after that honey. Except now, he's a mutated bee honey fish. Or, dang it, bee bear fish thing. One thing leads to another. Battles Laser Moose again. Goes all willy-nilly with them lasers. Alright, and eventually things start having to pay the price. What they end up doing is locking him into the nuclear facility in a garage and making it the problem of the humans. Which, now we see that they're neglectfully just leaving that problem unsolved without not really any resolution. Which kind of felt weird. I didn't really like that. Both of them, actually. This gave no resolution, really, unless you're going to do follow-up, series of these. They're fine, but they don't feel whole. So we go to the third act, which is, now Laser Moose just wants to be vigilant again, and Rabbit Boy is like, no, dude, let's enjoy the day. It's a beautiful day, and what's telling of Laser Moose's personality is when he says, if it's a beautiful day, then that's the day that they're going to be out working to commit crimes and whatnot. So you see that he's still a pessimist. Not much has changed. What happens here is, okay, their nemesis, this porcupine, I don't remember what the heck his name was, to be for real with you. So what happens is he creates this mechanical squirrel who's sent out to destroy Laser Moose. It's got, infinite strength, its speed, and everything. So it ends up getting into this huge fight with this mechanical squirrel. And this is kind of where you see that change in them, because after all this battling and all this fighting, they're like, hey, hang on a minute. This thing just wants to be a squirrel like everything else, like the other squirrels. So because it had a chip malfunction or something. So rather than destroy it like they would have done in the beginning, what Laser Moose and Rabbit Boy decide to do is cut the head off, reprogram, and allow the squirrel to just be a mechanical squirrel, which now just ends up turning it into a good squirrel. But here's the problem, is it leaves it open again because their nemesis is like, oh, I'll get you next time. A third one that has not really given us much closure. So, I didn't really feel too whatever about this. I mean, it was a fun read for what it was, but I mean, it just, maybe I should have chose a little wiser on that one. Character arc, establish, have effective transitions. Yeah. The transitions were fine. Where are my notes on that? So, when we go to McCloud's book, what page 70? Page 74, we talk about moment to moment, action to action, subject to subject, scene to scene, aspect to aspect, and non sequitur. I'm gonna pass my time. Okay, I gotta hurry up. So they transition well. They're not really abrasive and abrupt transitions if we go, scene to scene, because it's really not much change. They're going, they're staying in the same environment. There's not much going on there, so it allowed for smooth transition. Now, when we go, where we are, action, subject to subject, scene to scene, aspect to aspect, action to action, smooth again. Being in the outdoor environment allows them to just kind of move in that linear order without having to change up much. The only real changes was when they threw the aqua bear into the chemical plant, the toxic plant, the nuclear plant, and the squirrel on his bus doing his little work. So I mean, and the aliens inside. So there was little changes here, but he kept them smooth. They weren't jarring. So good. Does the story make use of the page as a comic? Yeah. I know they say most comics do 6 panels per page. He does 5. He tends to do 5 panels per page. Each page, you could tell, somewhat plays out as a full story / mini comic itself. But nah, I don't think he really paid too much attention to that, if I can be honest. Directional flow, yes. He used, actually, that's what I wanted to get to, was page 11. I saw this right away. No, wrong book. Well, we'll go to page 96. Page 96, when it talks about taking the rope. I love that rope example where each knot or each inch counts as, 1 second on the timeline, and then you get the flow of dialogue and the of bubbles, and I loved that. And where I saw him put that into practice really well was page 11 right here. when you see that his entire dialogue, and it's going to be backwards for you, and I'm sorry, is strung together in a continuous, am I going the right way? In a continuous flow, uh, as if a rope were attached to it, and that was pretty sweet. I've literally never understood that, and since I have attention deficit issues, knowing that actually kind of helped me to read them faster, because it's like, okay, naturally there's going to be a sequence to it, and a rhyme and a reason. So it was cool to get that piece of knowledge. Would I recommend this to the classmates? Sure. It's a fun little read. It was nice. Would I recommend it to my friends? Honestly, any of my friends, they'd punch me in the mouth if I recommended a book like this to them, because they aren't into that kind of stuff, I guess. Any other observations regarding anything else we might have discussed in class? Man, no. I mean, aside from like the artistic, liberties that he took, and the choices that he made, to use a lot of 5-panel, 3-panel pages, there wasn't really too much that out of the ordinary. Fun fact: I decided to go hardcover instead of pulling off of Comixology or anything, because it was just, I wanted to go hardcover. I wanted to go to the library, and I wanted to actually do the thing, and I wanted to sit down, and I wanted to read the book, take it with me, and it was cool, man. It was fun, and now I get to go return it. And this was actually in the kids section, which there's some stuff in here that I don't know is exactly kid appropriate. But thanks for watching. Sorry for wasting so much of your time, and I'm so sorry for going over my time. I literally never do that. I'm usually a short and sweet kind of person.